Hey everyone, all these mates are welcome back to a brand new video, and today we've got a little bit something different for you guys. We're going to do a review on John Wick Chapter 4. It came out March 24th, and we saw it. I've actually seen it twice, and we saw it basically opening day, opening weekend, and we just want to do a video because
We love some John Wick.
yeah, and we actually did a review reaction to the trailer way back when they first announced the actual movie, and that video is pretty old at this point. But we figured that since we did a reaction to the trailer, we might as well do a review of what we thought about the actual movie. So, you want to go? You want to say something? You want to do it?
I don't think they need that much explanation. We're doing a video on John Wick, and that's that. I mean,
Yeah, wait, where'd you get to?
I don't know. Anyway, so John Wick Chapter 4 came out last week. We saw it Thursday night. Yeah, we saw it Thursday night. We had to go because Friday we were not going to be able to do it, and we did not want to wait because we couldn't. We probably would have been spoiled.
Yeah.
But anyway,
True.
So thoughts on the movie? We'll start with thoughts on the movie.
This is no spoilers yet. We'll let you guys know when we get into spoilers, though. So, I thought, in general, when I was telling my friend about it, the way I described it to him was that it was pretty innovative on certain aspects of action movies in general. And some of the scenes were just beautifully shot. And there was some surprisingly beautiful shots just in general in the movie. I love, there's a few sunset shots. There's some cityscape shots. I love those kind of grandiose cinematic shots. They're very appealing to me. And the movie had a lot of them. One thing I want to say before you start getting into your stuff is the intro to this movie is phenomenal. The intro to the movie, this is not a spoiler. I'm just gonna say it though because it's not a spoiler, but it's basically just John punching like a wood thing, but when he punches it, the whole theater shakes and you can feel it in your seat, and it is just
It puts you in
it's
the movie.
good. It's really good intro to a movie.
It's subtle
such like
and
that.
effective.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So your favorite aspect of the movie, basically the cinematography,
Mm-hmm.
the way the movie was shot, the sequencing. Yeah, it was pretty good. John Wick, I think, is constantly setting a pretty high bar on that. It is what it is. It's techno music and it's crazy action. I think that they took action to a whole different level from the get-go on John Wick, combining the jiu-jitsu style fighting, the ground fighting, the kung fu style fighting with the firearms.
Yep.
I watch all of his training videos when he does these for these movies, when he's training himself on how to use the weapons, and everything he does is real. Like he's really that good with those firearms as far as the reloading and the cycling through, and just combining that with the martial arts skill that he has to learn is really good. I agree with you on the opening shot. Opening shot was great. My thoughts on the movie as a whole at first were, it was in the middle. I thought it was a little better than the third one. I was not super happy with the third one. None of them are bad, but I like they've constantly tried to expand their little universe of these people, of this group. So I like that, and they take some chances. Some things kind of really stick, and some things, I don't know, just don't hit me right. So it's all good. So the opening is great. The action in it for me, for about half the movie, was average John Wick. It was nothing special.
Sure.
But then I won't get to it because we'll get to spoilers. So then there's a scene that puts me into the movie, and I was like, oh, that's what I'm talking about.
There's a few for me, but I know which one he's referencing, and
that's the one I'm talking about. Ending is great. Again, we won't discuss it just yet.
Right. We'll get to about
and there's it's kind of up probably for debate on some of the ending a little bit. And we'll talk about that, and then y'all can share your comments if you've seen the movie.
Yep.
But all in all, I'd say it's probably my second favorite one. I think it took over as your first.
Yep. For a lot of people, it did actually online.
I'm still just, and this maybe just I'm old. The first one's still the best. It just is.
Well, that's just how you are with a lot of franchises, though.
I do, but they've all been good. There hasn't been a disappointment. They've tied them in together. They've expanded the universe. Nothing's. everything that happens seems to be for real in the universe that they're in. Like in the setting they're in, and with the people that they built up, and the syndicate or the whole assassin thing, it all plays. Nothing seems to step on each other, and that's important. If you want to see the opposite of that, watch Star Wars.
They introduce every movie basically they introduce new characters, new side characters, new antagonists, and in this movie has a good bit of new characters that could be either good or bad, depending on how you look at it. I thought that all of the side characters did a fabulous job with their role. There's there's some new villain, there's some new competition, there's new bounties that are going after John Wick, and just it's the side characters are getting a lot of love online, which is good to see. Especially since side characters can be hit or miss with some people, but it's good to see that they're getting some love. So,
well, your side characters now I'll say this about the villain. The villain is average to me. He wasn't a standout, wasn't bad. He sufficed. The guy that played him did good. I feel like the motivation just wasn't, could have been better. It just didn't feel, it wasn't driven by the villain. You can tell that. But yeah, the side characters, and you say side, they get about as much screen time as Wick himself. So I mean, they're not really sides. It's there's like 4 stars in this movie.
But I don't mind it though.
I didn't either.
Because the side characters are just that good that like you want to see more of them. And so that does not mean that they're pushing John Wick to the side at all. He is definitely still there, and he's obviously in the movie. But I know what you're saying is like.
I will say this: when they brought in a new character, especially who appears to be his villain for the movie, and the way that they introduced those characters in side scenes was really good. Like they had to, if you're going to build up a fight scene between John Wick and anybody, then you have to build up who he's going to be fighting, because otherwise it's gonna fall flat.
Yeah,
and they did that really well. Everybody,
we can talk about that when we get into
we'll get spoilers on that. So everybody that's in the movie, they did a really good job of building them up, showing what they can do before they ever really even encounter John Wick. That way you've got some respect going on. You can see and understand this, and it's not just some random nobody that's all of a sudden beating Wick's ass.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. That's 7 minutes, so I think we can get a spoiler.
Okay, so this is the spoiler warning.
7:42.
This is it's actually gonna be a little after that because we're gonna intro something. But this is spoiler warning. We're gonna start talking about some stuff, the ending with and then certain scenes with certain characters and just in general stuff that you may want to go to the movies to see. That's the appeal to movies for most people, is going to the movies for the experience and for the collective audience experience. When we went to go see it both times, the audience had a wonderful reaction to all of it, and to me, it's like a dopamine rush. That's why people go.
It is fun to watch a movie with a bunch of people that are really into the movie.
Yeah, so make sure you guys go see the movie. It is one of the highest. It's number one right now on everywhere.
There's 2 movies I've seen in the theater in the last year. It's Top Gun and
both of them have been worth going to the theater.
And that's how I feel about movie theaters anymore. It's got to be an experience.
Oh yeah, and this one really was. So make sure you guys go see it, and then you can come back and watch it. But anyways, with all the warning out of the way, spoilers. What do you want to talk about first? Because there's a lot to talk about. Do you want to mention Do you want to mention the scene you were talking about where they introduced the side characters?
So the beginning of the movie, you got John Wick punching the board, which is, I think it's a kung fu style board. I'm sure there's a name for it. Really gets you into the mood. Then they start introducing some of their newer characters. Actually, before I go any further, I want to say this. There's a real somber moment in the movie. All right, we all know that Lance Reddick passed away last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And since we're in spoilers, he ends up dying in the very beginning of this movie to make up for. Basically, he pays the price for the manager.
Yeah.
And for John Wick getting away, essentially. And it's like, I don't know, man. I guess because it's still caught up. Everybody's still kind of talking about him dying. And so, I don't know. Just kind of.
It hit different.
It hit a little different. Because it's like his farewell to the movies, too. Farewell to everybody. So it was just crazy. It's kind of emotional. Because he's such a phenomenal actor. I think everything he's been in, no matter what role, whether it was big or small, he sells it. He's like a Denzel Washington type character. I mean, just everything is so good. I
Yeah.
believe everything that he's doing in whatever movie he's in, or show, or whatever. I loved him. I watched him in Bosch. I watched every season of Bosch, and oh my god,
Yeah.
he was so good in that.
Hmm.
So anyway, I just want to say that.
So it was very sad when he died in the movie, and I could honestly kind of feel
You could feel it.
the tension in the room when that
You knew he
scene
was gonna.
played.
You felt like he was gonna die.
Yeah, and
It was built well,
it was
And he was
it
there-
deserved though.
and he was there voluntarily. He didn't have to go in there with the manager.
Well, one of the a really good line he says is, "You shouldn't." Winston says, "You shouldn't be here. This won't be pleasant." And he says, "Such is life."
Such is life.
And then that's like
That's
one of the last
the
things he
key.
says before he gets shot. But yeah, it's a
Winston brings that line back at the end too.
yeah. And so the movie ties into itself really well. So you wanted to mention that, and then so I believe the scene you're talking about where they introduce the characters is the blind guy, Kane.
Of course.
When he's blind, but he is a bounty hunter like John Wick. But John Wick and Kane have been friends for a very long time and basically treat each other like brothers. But business is business, right?
Let me tell you, I just want to say this:
Mhm.
when the main bad guy is given the card because he's blind, right? So he basically, Donnie Yen plays a character that plays. His name's Kane,
Mhm.
and he plays a character that basically he's kind of out of the game a little bit, but he's the guy they call in when something really big needs to be done. That's kind of the take I have on
Yeah.
it. So him being blind, when they hand him the name that he has to kill, it's written in Braille.
Mhm.
And that's such a good, I mean, I know it's real too, but it's such a good twist on how they introduce that whole thing. Because instead of him saying John Wick, like has always
He just
happened,
has to.
he's feeling it. He only gets about halfway through the name before he knows what name is on there.
Mhm.
And that was pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
just that one little things like that that make something really stand out. And I remember that. So then they got to build up. We've never seen Kane. We don't know who he is. He's a brand new character
He's one of my favorites in the movie, by the way.
by far. So they have to build him up. They have to show. I mean, the guy's blind, right? So
Mhm.
you're thinking, how's this guy going to compete with John Wick?
He's kind of like
Well,
a Daredevil.
I didn't know he was Daredevil, but
Yeah, he's like a Daredevil type
it's
character.
cool. It's cool because it's not unreasonable. I don't think. Yeah, probably some of it's pretty unreasonable, but I think somebody that I feel like it's doable in their area, in their universe. It's doable. It wasn't crazy cartoony.
And he's not, when he's fighting people, he doesn't like fight like a normal person, right? He's blind, so he's constantly listening. And when he is attacking people, he's almost always gonna block first. I've noticed, or he'll try to hit their block out of the way.
Speed.
It's
The
more. He's
speed.
fast too. But the scene you're mentioning is they're set. So John fled to Japan, to the Continental in Osaka. After the New York one got blown up. We didn't even mention that they blew up the New York Continental.
We don't have
that
to go step by
Winston.
step.
I know, but the New York Continental got blown up because Winston didn't kill John at the end of chapter 3. So John fled to the Osaka Continental to talk to that manager. I can't remember his name. His name
I can't
escaped
remember his
me.
name in the movie either.
But he was a good character too. All these characters were really well done, and so then the table, which is who Marquis, is that his name? It works for. They all get sent to that Continental, and then they do their thing. They start fighting. This is when they introduce Kane because we haven't seen Kane fight yet, and it's this funny moment where he's just like eating noodles in a dark corner, and then the guy's like, "Do your job," and then the music starts playing.
And I'm going to say
It's funny.
that bad guy too that kind of leads that charge. That's Kane's just kind of in the background on the first part of this fight. The guy that does that scene is kind of a big guy. He also gets a lot of screen time and actually does pretty good in the movie too for being just a muscle, a muscle bad guy.
Mhm.
And that's really all he is. But he actually has some pretty good parts in there, and he gets in some good fights. Like they have them surrounded and they shoot an arrow and he just puts his arm up and the arrow goes right through his forearm but he blocks it and doesn't even flinch. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So they did stuff like that. So then Kane jumps in. And he sets off these he has
Like
these
doorbells.
sensors, like doorbell sensors around, so he can hear where people are coming.
Mhm.
He knows where to shoot. So they're showing you how this guy does things, how he operates, so you believe everything that's going to happen.
Yep.
So
And then there's a whole
it's
scene that
good.
plays out with that.
It's how you make your characters.
Yep. And he is incredibly fun to watch fight too. I know we already mentioned
He's
that,
so
but he's so
nonchalant.
fast. He's so fast. Yeah, and it's funny because since he's blind, he doesn't even look sometimes.
Yeah, it's weird looking.
It's so weird. And the thing is, when I first saw the movies, I kind of didn't like him at first because, well, not that I didn't like him, but I kind of hated him. That's not what I mean. They made you hate him in the beginning because he kills the Osaka Continental manager, but then at the end, they make you love him because he starts helping John. But we'll get into that later. So that's one of the characters, Kane. He's the main bad guy, at least in the beginning. They make you think that. The main bad guy's still the
they showed you the main bad guy. He's the muscle that John Wick's gonna have to fight, but you just don't know how they're gonna twist it up. And it seemed like there were some little twists and turns throughout this movie,
of course,
which isn't always the case with John Wick.
Okay, so that's one thing. Anything else that we want to talk about? I know we're gonna talk about a lot more, but you know what I mean. Is there anything in particular you want to bring up as well? Besides, because obviously we're gonna talk about the ending, and obviously we're gonna talk about
all right. So
twists.
well, moving on in the movie, the scene that got me really into the movie, and I know this is probably a good halfway into it, maybe even 3/4.
It's near the end.
Yeah, I wouldn't say near. Well, it was in the second.
Yeah,
it was definitely in the end of the second act, maybe the third act. So
yeah.
But there's this scene. It's so awesome, where they have an overhead shot, but it's close. Like it's like you got like the ceiling right, and the camera would be like 5 or 10 feet above the ceiling, and it's following John Wick along through this.
It's like mansion type house.
Yeah, this building, this house, and he's got a shotgun that's loaded with basically incendiary rounds, like Dragon's Breath. So it's almost like a little flamethrower.
Yeah.
And it's
light people up.
And it's poorly lit, just where you can barely see John going and where people are coming from. And it's a continuous. Here's the thing: it's a continuous shot. Or if they edited it, it was very well edited. But it's a continuous running shot of him weaving his way through these different rooms and using the combination of the Dragon's Breath shotgun and his pistol and martial arts. And I mean, it's a good 30 seconds, 45 seconds of this. And I mean,
actually, I just watched it again last night. It does that for about 30 seconds. It'll cut to it because there's the other guy who's trying to catch me. There's a scene of them kind of fighting, and then it goes back to it for another 20 seconds, and then they start fighting. And but what he's talking about though is this scene has got people going crazy online.
It was bad.
No,
it was badass.
That's what I meant when I kind of say that. It's kind of innovative in a lot of aspects with that stuff because no one's ever done that like that, or at least done that well. And I like how they utilize the Dragon's Breath so you could see the have a visual of the bullets going to them, and it lights all the people on fire. And it was very
that was
cool.
One of the best action firefight sequences I've ever seen, and you felt close to it too. Like you could tell.
You felt like you were in a movie. You felt like you were in it.
Exactly what was going on. You should see it. It was clear, even though it was dimly lit because of the fire of the breath is what made it so clear. And you can see these people getting lit up. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the other character, what's the other guy's name that was hunting him? That said you weren't. The bounty wasn't high enough yet.
Oh, the guy with the dog. He was nobody. We don't learn his name. Right. He called himself nobody,
which is cool. Now I think he has ties to the female from the chapter before. Obviously, he's got a dog like she did. Dog looks awfully familiar.
That's true.
And I mean, I'm spitballing here. I have no idea.
I like this character too.
But call me crazy. But the girl at the end of the movie that was doing the emceeing on the radio while everybody was trying to hunt John down before he made it to the final battle. The final battle. Sounds like a video game. That sounded and kind of her mouth kind of looked like the female from chapter 3. I didn't mention that, when we were just.
Are you talking about the one who John went to?
Yes, the female over on the other side of the world that helped him with the 2 dogs. That helped introduce him.
She was more light skinned though.
All you saw in this one was the mouth.
I know, but she was black.
It was hard to tell because
it was dimly lit. It was.
I'm just saying the voice sounded familiar. You got a dog tie-in. The dog is almost identical to me. I mean, I don't really remember exactly.
They did look the same.
In a while to the ones that were used there, and I feel like all 3 of them were tied together.
Maybe.
He seems to know where John Wick. He knows a lot about John Wick. Nobody knows a lot about John Wick, He seems to be able to track him down.
He knew where he was almost all the time.
So there's got to be a reason for that.
He
And
tracked
that could
him
be
in
tied
Myrtle
into
Inn.
if they ever do one in the, and they could tie that in if they want to do one in the future. I know they've kind of said they were going to chill out on John Wick for a while, but
Oh, well,
if they
we
ever
can get
do
into spoilers for that in a minute.
But so anyway, nobody. Great
Okay.
character. He kind of, it's like it's back and forth.
He
If one minute
flip-flops
you're
between
rooting,
wanting to kill
one minute
him.
you're rooting for him, one minute you're not. But John saves his dog.
Yeah,
when
from
he
the
could have
big
killed
guy.
him, could have shot nobody. But his dog was getting attacked by the big dude, and this is the big dude's final scene, the one I mentioned earlier. And so John, instead of taking out nobody, takes out the guy that was.
Well,
fixing
this
to
is
kill
the
the dog.
second final scene. His actual final scene is when John's going up the stairs and he gets kicked down the stairs, and then he dies, and then the dog pisses on his face.
That's right. The dog.
That's a good scene. Everybody loved that. Yeah, last night I love it.
Yeah.
That's another really cool scene. At the end of the movie, John Wick is heading to the church to do a duel battle with Marquis, which is the big villain of the movie. But he's not actually doing the duel with Marquis. He's gonna do it with Kane because Marquis forcing Kane to do it, or else he will hurt Kane's daughter. That's why Kane is trying to get out. He said, if you do this, you and your daughter will be free from the table.
Yeah, I think what it is that duel probably allows. I think they kind of explained it. I've only seen the movie once, so I'm just going from one time watching it. But I think that the way the duel battle is that you can have a stand-in, you can have a proxy.
You can nominate someone to do it for you.
He, of course, nominates Kane, and I don't think they can argue that. So now John Wick has tried to come up with a new strategy on how this is gonna play out, and that's what leads to your final.
But before it gets to that, what we were just talking about is there is a lady. They're in Paris. There's a lady who's doing like a podcast type thing, and she is talking about the fact that John Wick is in Paris, and John Wick at this point has like a 26 million bounty on him still. So she's telling people about him and kind of where he's at because Marquis called them and told them that John was there so that he wouldn't be able to make it to the church in time. And that whole scene of him constantly being attacked by people for this bounty was kind of what I was hoping Chapter 3 would be, in a way. Because at the end of Chapter 2, they announced that he has a contract on him. I kind of thought it was going to be constant, nonstop fighting people, right, for a little while. And there was a little bit of that in Chapter 3, but I thought Chapter 4 did a really good job because there were some really cool fight scenes. There were some cool car scenes. There was that fight when he had to walk up a huge flight of stairs. Like, I think they said like 200 steps.
200 steps.
And he's fighting people all his way up. And he finally gets to the top. And then he just kicked right back down. And people were like, oh, no. And then Kane, the guy who's supposed to be dueling, who he is going to probably kill when they get up there because they have to duel.
Yep.
At the point of the duel,
get to the duel.
Yeah. He says, John, I'm going to need you to get up those stairs.
Yeah, I need you to get up those stairs.
And then they fight together up the stairs. And to me, it's kind of symbolic, him fighting up the stairs, because he gets to the top and he looks back at all the dead bodies. It's kind of like a way of him looking back, like, I'm leaving this life. I'm going away. And they get to the duel. So we'll start getting into the end now, so we can.
Yeah, we're getting long. All right, so the duel. All right, 30 paces. I don't know about this whole duel thing. That felt a little but it's okay. I'll allow it.
What do you mean?
I'll allow it.
The end twist was amazing.
No, the end twist was amazing. I'm talking about the duel itself.
Yeah,
the
but how would it have happened?
The whole concept of the duel is what I'm getting at. The concept of the duel, all of a sudden, we've never heard of it before. It just kind of felt a little, It's okay. The movie's good, so I'll allow it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the duel starts basically 30 paces. They have, both of them end up making a couple of rules for the duel based on, I guess, some card game, basically. Whoever gets the higher number gets to make this rule. So John Wick wins, and he goes with pistols, but it's like old-fashioned dueling pistols, like pirate shit.
Flintlocks, yeah.
Yeah, flintlocks. And the other guy wins a couple things. Man, we get to the duel. It's 30 paces.
It's sunset, by the way.
One bullet is in your gun. Shoot, nobody dies. You both come 10 paces in. 20, shoot, die, nobody dies. 10 paces in. So you're basically getting closer and closer. Somebody's gonna die. So, go ahead. You can finish off the duel.
So it's sunset, by the way. This is an important shot because sunrise. My bad, yeah. The sunrise. There's a really cool shot of John and Winston standing and looking out at the sunrise. That is a beautiful shot. and this is right before the duel ends, and then so they're close to each other. They're 10 paces. So imagine there's like a middle. They're both 10 paces out at this point. They've done shot each other twice now. Both of them in the arm, and one of them in the in the shoulder. And remember, they only have one bullet in the gun that you can fire. So they get the next bullet. They empty it with the next bullet. The guy yells fire, and they fire. And then John gets hurt really badly. Like he falls down. He was dying basically.
And shot in the gut. I mean,
yeah, he was. Yeah,
pretty fatal shot.
The main guy, Marquis, he was not dueling, but now he's like, I want to finish this myself. So he calls it off. He goes and grabs Kane's gun, and he's like, "You're free. You and your daughter. Go." And he grabs the gun. He reloads it. Walks up to John Wick. I think he says, I don't know what he says, but he says something. And then Winston's like, "You idiot." And then he says, "He didn't shoot." And then John Wick gets up and he says consequences and shoots him in the head. And that scene was impeccable. It was so well done. The whole movie theater was just like, oh my God. And that's the kind of experiences at the movie theater that you want to go for.
That was a good ending. I didn't see that coming. I was wondering how this was going to play out. I thought he had shot. And I don't know the rules of their duel. So basically, when the guy comes in and takes over, I mean, the duel is over. So it's just it's him against John now again, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was just really neat. Didn't really see it coming. Maybe you should have. I don't know. But
I didn't.
But it was pretty good.
Anyway. But alas, John does become free of the table, and he is free to live his life. But the wounds were just too much. He was losing too much blood, and he does end up dying. And so the last scene, or so we're shown. And I said this to Joey. I said maybe he's not actually dead, and they only put up a tombstone so that people would stop coming after him.
That's an exact possibility because he's free of the table. Like he's free of the table, but there's still a lot. He still has a lot of enemies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who's to say somebody else doesn't just put another huge ass bounty on him and go after him? So they know he's mortally shot. If he doesn't get medical care, he's probably going to die. So they play that, and they go ahead and have a funeral for him or whatever they did. They give him a tombstone, and they pay their respects to him because, for all intents and purposes, as far as Winston's concerned, John Wick is dead because he's not going to be able to contact him anymore. Even if it's a fake funeral and he's really alive somewhere, he's not going to be able to see him.
It's secret
because it'll be, it's like the whole, if I was to contact you, they'll know where you are because they know where I am. So. I can't. We're just, we got to say our piece.
Yeah, that John Wick would never have been free even if he did live. So we don't know. We only see him kind of pass out on the church stairs. We never really see him fully die, I don't think. But it's always a possibility if they do want to do more movies.
Don't see him die, they ain't dead.
There was a post-credit scene, by the way, that we missed.
Well, I'm going to have to watch it because I didn't see it. Anyway, so then the very last thing.
Crazy, but...
The very last thing. Winston puts his hand on the tombstone.
Oh, here we go.
And he's like, "Farewell, my son." So I've said since the beginning that I think Winston is his dad, whether John Wick knows it or not, which obviously John I don't think knows. But I said it from the beginning because there's just too much. There's too much emotion involved in that. Now, even when he supposedly is trying to kill John Wick at the end of chapter 3, he shoots him, and then what he knows is going to stop that bullet. So even by doing that, he knew he wasn't going to kill him. The only way you're going to kill him is shoot him in the head. So even then, he just made it look like to the female that he was trying to kill John Wick. And so I feel like this has been the thing all along. And he always calls him Jonathan throughout the entire franchise.
True. He never calls him just John Wick.
And so he uses his real name, which is kind of his thing. He does that for other people too, I think. But he calls him Jonathan. But at the very end, he doesn't say farewell, Jonathan. He says farewell, my son. It's totally different. It's different. It's different. So to me, that's the tie-in. So I mean, you can interpret it probably either way, but that's just my take on it, and I'm right. So there you go.
Well, you know what? We'll have to wait and see, but I don't know what. I have no idea what they're gonna do with the movies going forward.
We're gonna work on our movie review format because really what we just gave y'all was a summary.
Yeah, well.
So maybe we can cut it down a little bit.
Yeah,
sure. We're running a little long, but we both love the movie. It's a great finish, quote unquote, to the John Wick series. I know.
You
the
know, I'm
directors
kind
are
of glad they didn't keep him alive though.
I think
they
they
can get
I think they
overplayed.
want they left everything enough vagueness in it where if they do decide to do another one, they can. But if it stopped right here, it's good. You know,
True.
Either way.
It could go either way right now. So, yeah. Sorry about the long video, but the long part was the spoiler talk. So maybe people would.
They'll tune out if they haven't seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you do, come back and watch the rest of the video, and then leave your comments on what you think. What was your favorite scene? Do you
True.
like the ending? Did you see it coming? You know, did you like the way they tied things together?
It'll be interesting to
hear
see
how y'all
what you
think
got.
about it.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, if that's gonna be it for you, then
That's it for me. We talked enough.
But hey, that was fun. It was fun to just talk, even if it wasn't for the video. It was just fun to talk about it, you know, because I haven't been able to talk about it with a lot of my friends because no one's really seen it yet. Out of my friends.
Hey, this video is coming out on Monday, so y'all should have saw it this weekend. Any John Wick fan should have seen it over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That's
All
just
right.
my take.
Okay. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys. Peace.